No, no, è vero.
Tutto da solo?
I guess.
Okay?
Buongiorno.
Okay.
Buongiorno.
You want to introduce?
Ready?
Buongiorno. Thank you for coming so early. I'm supposed to use my MacBook, but it doesn't connect, so I am trying to use some primitive method to present. I'm going to switch around some music scores and video, and today we are going to look at Singapore's choral music and the little movement. I call it a choral miracle, and then as we talk about it, you will understand why it's kind of a miracle.
Buongiorno a tutti, grazie per essere qui così all'alba. Avevo preparato una presentazione, dovevo usare il mio computer ma purtroppo non si collega, quindi userò dei metodi un po' più primitivi per farvi vedere dei video che ho preparato per voi e delle partiture. Oggi si parla della vita corale a Singapore e l'ho intitolato Il miracolo corale, perché di miracolo si parla.
So let's look at where Singapore is.
Vediamo dove Singapore.
This is Singapore, this is Relatore. We are 10,000 kilometers away. Yeah? So if we zoom in, this is terrible. This Singapore is here. So when I transferred, some of the things are out of play.
Quindi siamo a una distanza praticamente di 10.000 km.
10,000 kilometers, and Singapore is here. This is Malaysia, this is Thailand,
Malesia,
Indonesia, Philippines,
Thailandia,
China,
Singapore
right at
e
the top.
Cina.
And how big is Singapore?
Quanto grande è Singapore?
It's an island.
È un'isola
From west to east, only 50 kilometers.
e da ovest a est sono 50 km.
Okay, north to south is only 27 kilometers. So this is a whole country.
Questa è tutta la nazione. Da nord a sud invece 27 km.
So the land area is 2 times of Arezzo.
Quindi l'area generale è esattamente 2 volte Arezzo.
But there are 55 times people on this island. 5.6 million.
Però le persone che ci vivono sono molte di più.
So if you go to Singapore, you see a lot of tall buildings because just very little land and we have to fit so many people.
Quindi se state a Singapore vedrete tantissimi grattacieli perché siamo tantissimi e l'area ovviamente è molta.
So this is the merlion. You go to Singapore, you must see this creature. It's a lion with a fish tail, not a mermaid, but this is our merlion. And this is the landscape that you see in the city center of Singapore.
Questo è il centro di Singapore, se venite dovete conoscere questo animale fantastico, un leone con coda di pesce.
This tall ship up on the building is one of the newest hotel.
La nave che vedete sopra il grattacielo è il nuovo hotel.
If I'm correct, it's about 500 over rooms. But very fancy pool. There's a swimming pool up there, and you get the whole night view of Singapore.
Se non sbaglio ci sono 500 camere e c'è una piscina ovviamente sul tetto, quindi si può vedere tutta la scala.
And then the night view, this is a sunset. Next we go to a concert hall. This is the Esplanade Concert Hall, built about 10 years ago. Acoustically is one of the most intricate, and it sits about 1,600 people.
Questa è una sala da concerto, è la Esplanade e tiene fino a 1.600 spettatori.
It's built like a ship.
È costruita proprio come una nave.
Everyone wants to perform inside.
Tutti vogliono ovviamente fare un concerto lì dentro.
Costs about $10,000 to rent it.
Per l'affitto costa $10.000 più o meno.
The next concert hall we have, this is at the Yongsu-to Concert Hall. It's a little recital hall that's built in a short horseshoe. It has a Maria Callas spot at the recital. So the best sound is here. So, but if we do it as a choral concert, it's not really the best. It's more for solo. This is the Yongsu-to Conservatory Concert Hall.
Questa invece è la sala Yongsu-to del conservatorio e il punto in cui si suona meglio il tutto è esattamente al centro. Quindi è pensata non tanto per coro quanto per ovviamente solisti.
Sit about 500 plus.
Ci sono più o meno 500 posti.
The third one I'm going to show is Sota Concert Hall. This has been used a lot for choral concert.
L'ultima sala che voglio mostrarvi è il Sota Concert Hall ed è usatissima anche per concerti corali.
And this is a friendly acoustic for choirs. It's about 600 people.
Tiene 600 persone ed ha un'acustica molto buona per i cori.
Okay, so we're going to look at a little bit of history.
Guardiamo un po' la storia.
Singapore originally was named Singapura.
Originariamente il nome di Singapore era Singapura.
Singa means lion.
Singa significa leone
Pura means a little city.
e Pura piccola città.
And the story was that there was a prince, Sangila Utama, who saw a lion on this island.
La storia narra che il principe Sangila Utama ha visto praticamente un leone in questa isola.
And so he named it Singapura.
E quindi è chiamato Singapura.
It's really, really long ago. And then come 1819,
Nel 1819
Sir Stamford Raffles from Britain,
dalla Gran Bretagna, Sir Stamford Raffles,
he came to Singapore and he found Singapore. And so this became the British colony. And this year we celebrate the 200 years, the bicentennial of Stamford Raffles founding the Singapore.
quindi ne ha fatto una colonia estremamente britannica, l'ha fondata praticamente.
So during World War II, Singapore was conquered by Japan, Japanese Empire. But when the war ended, it returned back to British colony.
Quindi nella seconda guerra mondiale fu conquistata dal Giappone e alla fine di questa guerra ritornò ovviamente ad essere una colonia inglese.
So at the end of World War II, 1940 plus, and Singapore merged with Malaysia.
Quindi alla fine della guerra c'è un collegamento con la Malesia, diventa Federazione della Malesia.
So they were the same country, they were called Malaya in the past. So I was born in Malaysia. So Malaysia and Singapore have many relatives living in two countries because they used to be one.
Quindi divenne la stessa nazione e ci sono ovviamente tantissimi gradi di parentela tra gli abitanti delle due città.
And so soon after, there was quarrel, dispute happened, and then Malaysia wanted to kick Singapore out.
Quindi appena dopo ci fu una grande disputa e la Malesia voleva ovviamente dividersi da Singapore.
You remember Singapore is small,
Quindi
2
ricordate
times of
Singapore
Arezzo, an
è
island.
piccola, è un'isola,
Nothing, coconut trees maybe, and a lion.
non c'è niente, c'è solo alberi, forse un leone.
So Malaysia thinks, when I cut you off, you will die.
Quindi Malesia ha pensato, se ti faccio fuori ovviamente morirai da sola.
Yeah, so the independence was a very forced one because the Malaya didn't want Singapore.
Quindi l'indipendenza è stato...
So they got an Independence Day in 1965.
Quindi il giorno dell'indipendenza è nel 1965.
So today is 54 years.
Quindi oggi sono 54
A
anni.
very young country.
È una città molto giovane.
So Singapore is an immigrant society.
La società di Singapore è una società ovviamente di immigrati.
It was an island, and then Chinese people came down, Malay people came, Indian people came. They wanted to look for good life. They tried out a new place. So we are formed by 3 major ethnic groups: Chinese, Malay, and Indians.
Quindi ci sono 3 etnie che abitano questo luogo e sono malesiani, indiani e cinesi, che tutti insomma vengono in questa isola per condurre una buona vita.
So it's a very strange country in that majority of the people are immigrants. At least our grandparents, they are immigrants. And today we have about 40% of people who are foreigners in this country.
Quindi è molto
40%.
La situazione è strana perché la maggior parte del tessuto degli abitanti è immigrato. Per esempio i miei nonni sono immigrati, il 40% della popolazione è straniera.
So you are welcome to join us.
We will come.
Yes. And we're always looking for talent, so
Siamo in cerca di talenti.
the wood singers come. And so early choir, so now we look at how this choral movement started.
Quindi come è iniziato il movimento corale?
So we look at and we look at all the politics. I will not go into all the history, but just we sum it up. After World War II, people are very angry with Japanese, especially Chinese people.
Quindi facciamo un po' di politica, non voglio soffermarmi molto nella storia, ma dopo la seconda guerra mondiale quindi la popolazione ce l'aveva abbastanza con i giapponesi.
If you speak to my grandparents, and they will, you can feel the hatred towards Japanese because of the cruelty that they did in World War II. And my grandma doesn't want to talk about it. I remember when I was young, I was, come on, tell me story, tell me story. And the only story that she said was that the Japanese were so cruel. Can I tell you?
Why not?
It's very, very, very shocking. They will kill the people, they cut out the ladies' breasts, and they string them together, and they play. Oh, that was like the most cruel scene I remember, my grandma told me.
It's true.
I don't know, I have not seen the picture, but in my mind it was like, oh.
It's true. I saw the film, the documents made by the journalists in Malaysia or in English or something. Small, not Chinese. They did some documents. It's terrible.
Yeah, no war.
Quindi il trattamento era stato veramente crudele durante la guerra. I nostri nonni, la generazione precedente, non volevano affatto parlarne. Se chiedo a mia nonna di raccontare che cosa si rifiuta. E l'unica cosa che mi ha raccontato è che i giapponesi solevano uccidere le persone e alle donne veniva tagliato il seno e venivano legati insieme e ci giocavano. Quindi è veramente un grado di crudeltà assoluta.
They are very wonderful people now, obviously.
Adesso che mi sono
Yeah. So after World War II, the choirs come together, especially the Chinese choir. They wanted to do singing for an anti-Japanese sentiment. So they sing a lot of Chinese songs to advance the spirit because they have to rebuild the society in the country and to also keep in touch with the cultural roots. So the early choirs do a lot of Chinese folk songs, songs from China. It could be very communist, not communist, sorry, patriotic, or they could do opera choruses, but translated to Chinese. Yeah. So they.
Si iniziò a ricostruire un po' il vuoto che c'era, ma con la possibilità ovviamente di riempirlo con cultura e arte. Quindi moltissima cultura cinese è stata importata attraverso libri, partiture, ma la maggior parte del repertorio o era confacente alle regole e al testo, diciamo, comunista, per dirlo così, o a cori tratti dall'opera, ovviamente tradotti in cinese.
So when we think of Chinese choir in the past, they always like it to be big, impressive, right? 100 people, 200 people stand, they are very close. They stand, they sing. It's a very communist idea. I mean, if you think of North Korea's choir, they always want to show that they're very big and impressive. So I think that has quite a big influence to the early choir scene in Singapore, because we are all immigrants.
Quindi nel passato c'erano veramente cori enormi, dalle 100-200 persone, tutte strette e vicine, giusto per impressionare. Un po' l'idea che c'è ora dei cori del Nord Corea, proprio per mostrare la loro potenza, e questo ha influenzato probabilmente la prima coralità presente.
So, in my personal view, this is what I think changed Singapore choral movements later on when I share about it. But that's my personal view when I wrote an article for what do you call the choral bulletin, the international choral bulletin. So I will share about the current number of choirs in Singapore.
Quindi vado a mostrarvi che tipo di cori ci sono a Singapore.
In primary schools, there are about 120 choirs.
Nella scuola primaria 122 cori.
130 in secondary. Junior college is about A levels, and it's 17, 18 years, about 18 choirs.
Nella scuola secondaria e all'inizio del college sono esattamente i numeri riportati.
Tertiary, university, and international schools, like American schools, Canadian, Australian schools, they add up about 10, 200 churches, church choirs. But the church choirs are about 20 people, average, they're not very big, and about 10 community active choirs.
E per le scuole internazionali, americane o di altra nazionalità, 10, cori ecclesiastici su 200 ovviamente sono di piccola stazza, sulle 20 persone.
Right. So out of 500 choirs, I think we have about half in the schools.
Quindi la metà dei cori proviene dalle scuole.
So what is unusual in Singapore?
Che cosa è strano secondo me?
We don't have choral conducting courses.
Non abbiamo corsi.
No university gives choral conducting. There's never ever a degree or diploma in choral conducting. There's no professional choir. And there are many conductors, outstanding ones, who are award-winning. They never studied music firstly. They were physics, they are math, major, literature, maybe accountants, something like that.
Non esistono cori professionali, non esiste una vera scuola, non puoi prendere un titolo vero in direzione corale. Chi dirige anche cori molto bravi in quella zona, di prima battuta non è un professionista musicale, ma è laureato in scienze, matematica, fisica.
So to me, what created this choral excellence? It was in 1987 when choral excellence program was imagined by this Minister of Education.
Quindi per me inizia l'eccellenza corale nel mio paese dal 1987 quando iniziano i finanziamenti dal Ministero della Cultura.
So the late Deng Su, he said, I want Singapore choir that can stand up like a European choir. And he had this dream, so he started this choral excellence program.
Quindi il signor Deng Su inizia questo programma di eccellenza corale.
So he handpicked, not he, but the Ministry of Education, they handpicked about 10 choirs from secondary school, JC, to come together, and you give them money to train, you send the conductors away, and then you set them like a model in the country. So these are the top choirs.
Cosa ha fatto? Sempre non lui, il Ministero dell'Istruzione, ha scelto 10 cori tratti dalla scuola, dalla secondaria, e li ha messi insieme per formare, ovviamente li ha finanziati per provare, per ovviamente migliorare, e ne ha fatto il modello della nazione.
So many of these choirs were led or conducted by returning scholars to the UK. They went to UK for 9 months, Royal Academy of Music. Then they travel around, they listen to cathedral choirs, they follow some famous conductors. And so they brought back Renaissance sacred music and madrigals to Singapore. And so they started this whole a cappella choral singing in choirs.
La maggior parte di questi cori è guidato da un direttore che proviene da esperienze fatte in Inghilterra, soprattutto per 9 mesi o per corsi anche più lunghi alla Royal Academy, che hanno seguito dei cori in cattedrale e hanno portato quindi un repertorio del Rinascimento e i madrigali per un repertorio da cappella nella città di Singapore.
So after that, they started Singapore Youth Festival choral competition. And all these choirs that were selected in the program, they must take part. And there is compulsory piece, obligatory piece, and so every 2 years there will be this big choral competition, and the whole Singapore, those who are interested in choral singing, they will go and watch what is this great choirs like.
Quindi successivamente si è creato questo festival per la coralità giovanile, questo concorso corale che si tiene ogni 2 anni, quindi a cadenza biennale, e che ha ovviamente dei programmi obbligatori da tenere. Tutti vengono per aggiornarsi e per vedere questi grandi cori.
So we have choral competition, about 10-20 choirs, and then the rest of the choirs in Singapore, they will enjoy central judging. There's no no compulsory piece, and they will get like a certificate of distinction or something like that, or maybe gold, silver, but it's different from this choral competition.
Il concorso quindi coinvolge dai 10 ai 20 cori, invece gli altri cori che cantano a questo festival non hanno l'obbligo di presentare brani già in partenza obbligati dall'organizzazione e ovviamente prendono un certificato di presenza e di partecipazione più che appunto a partecipare al vero concorso.
Yes, and I don't know how they found the money, but the best part of the year, every 2 years they get 30,000 cash. This is in the 80s. It's really a lot of money.
E cosa è reso famoso e utile questo questo avvenimento dai soldi che vengono dati sui 3.000 in contanti e questo è proprio succede negli anni 80.
So every good school choirs want to win best choir of the year with 30,000 cash. And so to me this was one single catalyst that created this movement of choral singing, a cappella singing, not opera choruses, not Chinese patriotic song. And move away into a European repertoire. And yeah, so this started this whole, you know, look to the Europe and listen to the good choirs, how do we sound like that?
Quindi questo ha aperto una finestra verso il repertorio dell'Europa e modalità ovviamente di esecuzione di brani a cappella non tratti dall'opera, non tratti dalla tradizione popolare o altro.
Yeah. So at the same time, we come up with set piece, right? Obligation piece. So say the first competition was Far Hard, Molly. It's English. And then I think the second year, 1990, was also an English magical, but I can't really remember the title. And then subsequently, we got local composers to compose, like Leon Yupin, like Bernard Tan, you know, and then we have set piece again, Leon Yupin, then we go to Pun Yu Tian. So almost every year we try to have local composers who come up with a set piece.
Quindi come potete vedere nel 1988 il brano obbligatorio era di Thomas Morley, un inglese. Nell'anno successivo, non ricordo bene il titolo, ma mi ricordo fosse un madrigale. Invece dagli anni successivi vediamo che i compositori divengono locali e questa è una gran cosa.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
the second one, Leon Yunbin is from your
Singapore. Yes, these are all Singaporeans. These are the local composers. Yeah, so it was a very conscious effort that they want to encourage composers to create choral music in Singapore. And choral writing wasn't very much active in the past. So in '95, this Bernard Tan is also a physicist, professor, and he composed something very romantic, blue. But to me, this is my opinion, what created the whole choral movement, it was not really this piece. Oh, this video, I hope you didn't watch it. But I'm going to show you a piece that was used in that competition in '95, and I was in the audience, and I remember, whoa, and that created a lot of inspiration. So we're going to watch, this is the difficult part where I need to...
Ovviamente questo sforzo di dare delle composizioni locali ha creato un repertorio in realtà era più attivo nel passato come composizione. Per esempio nell'anno 95 l'autore è anche lui un fisico e ha composto questo brano, Blue. Mi ricordo appunto che stavo nel pubblico e dicevo wow, e infatti il brano poi ha creato grande ispirazione nella composizione corale locale.
Sorry, let me try to... I have to open many windows to try to... where is it? The mouse doesn't work.
Oh.
Okay, I think I could.
L'ho messo.
I got it.
This is Blue.
This song is done much later. I'm introducing the song 1995. And this song was first performed in Singapore in '95. And 95, yes, so 20 over years ago. And it captured the imagination of choral conductors and audience alike. Of course, they didn't do the staging in '95, but the music was really quite exciting at the time. Even though the composition was not new, it was composed by a Filipino composer called Feliciano much earlier on. This is a youth choir competition set piece in the Philippines. And the little story was very funny. Like all musicians, they always forget deadlines, they live in the moments, and then he's supposed to hand in this piece as the deadline king, for a competition. They need to publish it. And then the night the organizer called him and said, Feliciano, have you got your piece ready? And they said, oh my gosh, I forgot all about it. He went into his room. In a few hours, he came up with this piece. And this piece was very mathematical. And we try to look at it now.
Questa era un'esposizione che abbiamo fatto in Corea, era inverno, non abbiamo fatto proprio perfetto, c'era proprio suonatura. Nel 95 quindi fu Blue a ispirare questo genere di brani, e ormai sono passati 20 anni, quindi l'immaginazione dei compositori fu svegliata da questo brano, e ovviamente a quel tempo non c'era la coreografia, ma la musica era talmente così eccitante che ha generato questo genere di brani. Questo brano è di Feliciano, è stato uno dei brani anche messi come brani obbligatori nelle Filippine, nei concorsi filippini, e mi ricordo insomma che dovevamo partecipare e avevo chiesto appunto un brano a lui, e mi ricordo lo chiamai e gli dissi allora è pronto il nostro brano per il concorso, e lui si era completamente dimenticato. Alla fine comunque ce l'abbiamo fatto, è un brano molto meccanico, lo possiamo vedere.
So it's just like most secondary school choir or youth choir, there are more girls than guys. So he composed it SSAA TB for this piece, Popo Alipapo, Feliciano. And so it started with some percussion thing, Filipino percussion, and they like to use this interplay of rhythm to do like a kulintang kind of, it's the tribal ethnic instruments. It's kind of gamelan. It's like gamelan, so they do an interplay of rhythm. So this was what you heard just now.
Nei cori giovanili spesso accade che ci sono più femmine che maschi, quindi è scritto per alto, alto, tenore, basso. Inizia con un'introduzione percussiva che imita un po' il senso ritmico della colinca di questi strumenti etnici, molto simili al gamelan, in cui c'è un tessuto tra le varie parti.
So this was very difficult in the 90s for Singapore choir. It was like, whoa, so exciting, so many layers, and they're all different. And this song is about children's game. It's like playing, you sit in a circle, they play, and then, so at the end it bursts out into laughter, and because they were having so much fun. And look at this rhythm.
Who is the composer?
Feliciano.
Negli anni 90 questo ascoltatore era veramente difficile, faceva impressione, così tante strade così diverse, e riprendeva il tema del gioco dei bambini che si mettono in cerchio e poi prorompono in risate.
Just passed on a few years ago. Very talented guy. So look at this is where you have this interplay of rhythm at that speed. So, and then the guys will come in. So that is a lot of layering. It's just like gamelan and the tribal instruments. And then it went off to the end, where they go homophonic, and they sometimes truncate it. They didn't finish. This is the whole thing. And then he chopped it up into different slices and different length. So it makes it feel like it's a game, like children playing game, that sort of thing.
Ovviamente a complicare tutto è il trattamento contrappuntistico delle linee e la velocità a cui in cui viene richiesta l'esecuzione. Quando sono in omofonia la frase non è finita, è come fosse una conta, un gioco di bambini appunto.
And it burst into 7 seconds of laughter, which was unheard of in the 90s, you know. But of course now we have love songs with laughter and witch and all that.
E poi esplode improvvisamente in una risata, che per gli anni 90 non era una cosa normale, adesso è ovviamente.
Yeah, so when I look back at the history of choral movements in Singapore, this was one of the little spice that created, wow, you bite into chi and, oh, so good, you know, and something started. People trying to find music like this, trying to find something that is very special, very theatrical.
Quindi nella storia della musica corale è stato molto importante, è come inserire una spezia in un piatto e dire wow, peperoncino, buono, ci piace. Quindi si iniziò a cercare ovviamente questo repertorio più teatrale, più speciale.
So after 95, 97 came, and this was the set piece for secondary school. Secondary school is 13 to 16 years old.
Nel 96 viene come brano obbligatorio questo brano, ovviamente per le classi secondarie, dai 13 ai 16 anni, quindi i cantori.
Let me try to play the music and show you the... Oh, wait. This is about street calling, people selling food in the Chinese alley. This is all the dim sum's name, the dishes' food name.
Questo li chiama i direttori di strada. Li chiama le gridate dei venditori nella strada, che vendono cibo, che posate, il rumore delle posate. Un coro della secondaria.
And many people hated it. Ah, what is this? And because they have been singing Renaissance, beautiful.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write
E tutti si chiedevano, e dov'è la musica rinascimentale? Cos'è sta cosa?
So these were things that I remember that created a lot of stir in the choral scene. Choirs that have been doing beautiful sound, they don't know what to do with this. Because this is street calls, you cannot sing, it cannot be beautiful because in the Chinese old times when they sell food, the hawkers, they were hot and they were like, hey, hey, you have to shout and therefore it doesn't have this beautiful line, and then some choir really did it that way, it's so funny.
Quindi si è perso un dibattito abbastanza acceso sulla vocalità da usare, perché non è possibile usare un suono omogeneo, brillante, rotondo per ovviamente imitare gli urli della strada.
Yes, and the chord is not do, mi, so, it's all in fourth, it stacks together. And everyone is like, oh, what is this? This is not music. And that was in 97. Many of the choral excellence choir, you know, this top choir, they got bronze. They don't know how to do this piece. Yeah.
Moltissimi dei cori migliori non sapevano assolutamente come cantare questa roba, perché vediamo non è una coda, non è una triadesima, ci sono sovrapposizioni di quarte ed è nel 96.
So it was a crazy time where a lot of these gold choirs suddenly got silver and bronze because they sounded ridiculous singing this beautifully. And 97, that was, what did I say? 97. Then 99, another crazy set piece. This is for 17, 18 years old. This is for 17, 18 years old. This composer wrote a lot for Chinese orchestra. And so song without words. He writes a lot for orchestra, so he doesn't like to set text. So he's very clever, he chose song without words, so he doesn't need to put any words in it. And this Punyo Tian, he used, so it started with 4 simple parts. And then we have we have major 3 ethnic groups, right? You know, Chinese ethnic group sing pentatonic. Do, re, mi, so, la. Right? And then we have Malay scale, is do, mi, fa, so, ti, do. Yeah? It's not do, re, mi, but do, mi, fa, so, ti, do. And then we have Indian scale, that's the hardest. Do, ra, mi, so, de, da, di, da, di. It has a flat re. And he merged the 3 scales into one same piece. And sometimes at the same time. So it created a really interesting like melting pot, you know, like you eat Italian food with Chinese in it, with Indian and all together. So he started with an Indian scale. Can you see it?
Nel 1999 è il momento di un altro pezzo pazzo, pensato per gruppi di coristi dai 16 ai 18 anni. Il compositore che vedete normalmente compone per orchestra e quindi molto intelligentemente non ha messo il testo. Utilizza queste 4 note all'inizio, come vedete, ma vi ricordate, a Singapore abitano 3 gruppi etnici, cinese, Malesia e indiano, e lui usa esattamente, fonde nello stesso momento queste 3 scale, pentatonica per il cinese, scala con l'inizio di una terza per il sound malesiano e più difficile ovviamente la scala indiana, con un semitono all'inizio, come vediamo proprio all'inizio del brano.
So this is like an Indian scale, da, da, di, 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 di. And then it goes into a Chinese scale, la, do, re, mi, and then, you know, it's not quite simple, but this alone was really, really challenging for choirs in the 90s. This kind of scale and tonality is really weird. So it went on very quickly into divisi. So at the top, soprano were doing a Chinese scale, and then the guys at the bottom were doing an Indian scale. And so that was really, really clever. And then he went into, what do you call this technique? he went into this Klangfarben technique. He spun up the melody, but all into different parts. And this is a very modern techniques, and all these are so challenging for a school choir at the time. And then it went on and on, it became very symphonic, like an orchestra. And then it split some more into 16 parts at some point. And this is like crazy, you know, this is a set piece and many choirs just can't cope with it. Naturally they can't get go. And you have to find text to put in it because there's no sound. And you have to imagine what kind of sound will make the music come alive. Some people put words like food into it, you know, laksa, mi goreng, and don't know what. And it's really hilarious for people who understand the text, you know, it's like you put pizza, you know, you put it into the text, it's quite funny. So every choir sounded very different.
Quindi se si pensa che questo era un brano obbligatorio negli anni 90 fu una grande sfida, solo l'inizio creò non pochi problemi ai cori. Si divide poi a metà, i soprani in alto cantano una melodia cinese e in basso gli uomini hanno il tema indiano. Ed è come una tecnica Klangfarben, cioè la melodia spezzata tra le varie voci. E poi continua e diviene un pezzo sinfonico. Si suddivide fino a 16 parti e pensiamo che è un brano obbligatorio, quindi tantissimi cori non si presentarono per la difficoltà di questo brano. E il suono da trovare non c'era testo, quindi che suono pensare per far vivere questa musica? Alcuni hanno messo un testo, ma era veramente ridicolo perché hanno messo magari testi come pizza o cose così. Quindi veramente fu una grande sfida negli anni 90.
Tutto bene. And then so after 99, no one sing this piece again, ever again. And so crazy, right? I mean, so much money paid to get him to compose, and then everyone scream at that piece. And then 2 years ago, I tried to sing it again. So we will listen to it and see how it goes.
Quindi tanti soldi sono stati spesi per pagare il compositore, così geniale, però pochi cori ovviamente parteciparono.
Non è collegato.
17, 18 people like that, with 16 parts and a lot of choirs. And what is beautiful for me is that we are a society of 3 ethnic groups, right? Mostly Chinese, and you see that all this music, the different skills come together. Sometimes very jarring, because in reality, when the 3 ethnic groups live together, it's not always peaceful. So sometimes we don't like what they do, we don't like the way they live, and they go through, and at the end it comes back to a G major chord, which is very peaceful. And that reflects our society. That's very beautiful, how we struggle through the different ethnic groups and stuff like this.
L'idea è bella in realtà perché riflette proprio la società multietnica, la cui maggioranza è cinese, abbiamo detto, e la convivenza non è sempre pacifica come potete immaginare, però il fatto che il brano finisca in questo sol maggiore, così solare, così pacifico, ci dà speranza, insomma, per una convivenza più civile.
Yeah, so this to me was like an injection into the choral scene of the whole choral movement. That 90s had a lot of strange music that challenged us, very demanding. And then, what do I do here?
Quindi per me questa fu proprio una grande iniezione di novità nella scena corale. Tanta musica strana che esigeva qualità.
So from the 1909 onwards, I'm going to just show you a list that is not comprehensive about some of the awards that Singapore choirs won overseas. Where is it? Okay, here it is. In 1999, there was the Singapore choir won Grand Prix in Finland, and then 2004, a World Choir Game Champion in Bremen. 2006, Grand Prix in Rivadavia. 2010 in Belgium, in Czech Republic, Olomouc, and then you have Krakow in Poland, Kaunas in Lithuania, Prague, Czech Republic.
Quindi questi alcuni raggiungimenti dei cori che provenivano da Singapore in questi anni.
All these were school choirs.
E tutti questi sono cori scolastici.
Below 18.
Sotto gli 18.
Yeah. But the policy change in 2014, the government doesn't allow us, the school choirs, to travel outside Southeast Asia. So we can't go to Europe anymore. You can't go to far places for competition where we get to sing in beautiful churches, wonderful culture exchange. And so the last few years, they were all done by adult choirs and university choirs. This was achieved in Poland, Torun, where else? Legoland.
Ma le cose cambiano nel 2014 quando il governo ha deciso di non permettere a cori così giovani di lasciare l'ambito asiatico, quindi non fu più possibile cantare in magnifiche chiese e ottenere questi scambi culturali. Ecco perché iniziò una nascita e un incremento dei cori universitari invece.
Right. So what are the school systems? How does the choir work in Singapore? It's an after-class activity. And students can choose, they can join band, choir, dance, sports, arts, scouts, St. John Ambulance, and all that.
Quindi come funziona il sistema scolastico? Le attività che si svolgono a scuola sono di vario tipo, sport, danza, arte, strumenti musicali.
Yeah. So not like Slovenia where it's illegal not to have choirs, right? Every school must have choir. And in Singapore it's really up to the school. So at one time we aimed to have 100% schools that have choir, but I think we reached only about 90%.
Quindi non è come in Slovenia per esempio che è obbligatorio assolutamente avere un coro scolastico, ma la scuola sceglie di attivare questa attività e siamo arrivati al 90% di adesione.
How much time do we practice? It depends. Some school choirs are so relaxed. Like they don't think it's important. They maybe practice 2 hours a week. And some school choirs that, like, you know, where Enoch came from, very, very demanding choir, practice 3 times a week, I think, or maybe more. Yeah. Or every day. So it really depends. But now I think it's very hard because parents will complain. The school don't want parents to complain, so everything is like less is better.
Quindi quando cantiamo, in alcune scuole si cantano 2 volte alla settimana, altre 3, altre ogni giorno, ma oggi è un po' differente la situazione perché i genitori si lamentano e ovviamente a scuola non vogliamo che i genitori si lamentino.
Yeah. Something is very interesting in Singapore also. Ministry of Education has a big funding for schools, and so when choral competition became very important in the 90s, and then some teachers don't want to conduct the school choirs because it's so stressful. The music teachers don't want to conduct, so they get external conductors to come in, and so the school has to pay them, and so that became the budget of choirs became higher and higher. And then we also have this internationalization funds, where the government will subsidize school choirs, say for overseas cultural exchange, competition. They get not much, maybe 400 to 500, but it's still something very encouraging. And all this disappeared in 2014. And so things become harder now.
Quindi negli anni 60 cosa successe? Che gli insegnanti non volevano dirigere cori perché era davvero stressante, quindi si chiamavano direttori esterni alla scuola che ovviamente andavano pagati, quindi il budget divenne sempre più grande e impegnativo. Però comunque era possibile fare questi scambi culturali e interessava veramente un grande numero di persone, invece dal 2014 tutto questo è scomparso.
So what is happening in Singapore now? And we can't come to Europe with the choirs. So we started international festival in Singapore.
Quindi cosa accade oggi? È possibile, non è possibile cantare in Europa, quindi ci sono creati dei festival internazionali a casa nostra, a Singapore.
Okay, I try. The last one, we are finishing. I think I'm too long. So we will look at one of the festivals
Guardiamo uno dei festival
that is organized in Singapore.
organizzato a Singapore.
Because it opened a lot of opportunities from all parts all over the world. not only inspiration, it's not only good for the singer, but good for us, especially for captains, to develop and improve the singing quality of the choir.
You recognize it? So we have more and more festivals happening in Singapore now because our school choirs can go out. We try to bring more experience back to Singapore. And next year we are organizing an international choral competition. So we're very excited, and the deadline is in January. So if you know composers, yourself want to, just write to me. We'll send you information. It will be launched in September this year.
Quindi ecco che noi siamo voluti tenere all'estero, abbiamo portato all'estero a casa nostra e l'anno prossimo si organizza un concorso internazionale di composizione questa volta e la scadenza è a gennaio, quindi vi invito veramente a scrivermi, a chiamarmi, a partecipare.
Thank you so much for coming, and we will end here, so feel free to go, just let this run.
From China.
Io vado a prendere un posto di là perché già iniziano.
Giuliano.